Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. This meeting is being videotaped, and we'll start with the Historic Commission. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Lynn Stowe-Tome, and I'm here representing the Gill Historical Commission tonight. We are hoping to put a sign on the town common that will tell about the Gill Center National Register. That was, about 6 months ago that it was confirmed by Boston that Gill Center would be on the National Register of Historic Places. And we want to put a sign on the town common proclaiming such. We have a quote from Hale Signs, which is a Ludlow Ludlow, that's where I grew up. a Gill business, and with some options on it. And I have a drawing here, a very rough drawing of what we would like to put on the sign. And I also have a printout of a photograph of the sign in Northfield, which is a very large and very expensive sign. And ours is going to approach looking like a little like that, but is going to be a lot less expensive. So our color scheme is very similar to what the Northfield sign is. We want to have dark green, a forest green, but it's going to be made from PVC, which about 3/4 of an inch thick, and is going to have the same, well, hopefully, if our budget works out and everything, we want to have it be a two-sided sign and be perpendicular to the road, to Main Road, so that you can see it coming and going on Main Road. Do you want me to, because we're not doing a visual, do you want me to read what's on the sign?
Sure.
So we're hoping that the sign will have an arch at the top and have a flourish there, similar to what Northfield did. We had talked about doing the town logo, but the town logo has some issues to it in terms of whether it can be seen what's on it from a distance. And I think it would be too small and too obscure to try to get it in there. So we're just going to do a gold flourish, and then as large letters as we can get in the center that says Gill Center in all caps. And just above, and that would be gold, and just above it would say National Register in a cream color, and just below it, Historic District in a cream color. And at the bottom would say established 1793. One established in cream and 1793 in gold. The posts are pressure-treated wood and probably painted black, but we've talked about, Bob Perry, who's on the Historic Commission, talked about putting a plastic sleeve on them to help preserve them, so we don't have to paint them every year. They're 4 by 4 inches by 4 inches, and they have a curved top at the top. So the top is not a finial, it's just curved right out of the wood. And then the 4 brackets that are holding it onto the posts are made from steel. The background, the dark green background, would be output onto vinyl, and the letters would be cut out and sealed onto their laminated onto the background vinyl. So where the Northfield sign is all carved out, ours would be flat. But it would be a lot thicker than the metal signs that you see coming into town. Thicker and more durable.
The PVC and vinyl is a pretty standard Hale design.
It is, yeah, and they seem to hold up pretty well.
Yeah, they do.
And then around so it's 3/4 of an inch thick, so this would be, the post would be black, and around the edge would be black of the sign, and then the dark green would be in the middle. Yeah, I've looked at lots of samples of his signs, and from a distance they look great, and they seem to hold up pretty well.
Yeah.
So going to the budget for the sign is 36 inches by 48 inches. We actually created a cardboard sign that was about that big and held it up down. You've probably seen there's a couple of flags, blue flags, on the common where we want to put it, because we drove our car up and down the road to see where would be the optimum place to see it and the size that we would need. So the posts are 6 feet to the top of the sign and the top of the post from the ground, and then they would be 3 feet at least underneath. 36, so 3 feet by 4 feet. 4 feet is tall and 36 inches wide. And we have an installation cost. The design, he's got design logo, that's not the logo, but the design of the sign on his computer. And the post clips are the metal, the brackets that hold it on. And I asked him to price out an option of using 22 karat gold letters because I like the way they look. And so I'm taking that off of the total down the bottom after I came out of my faint. So we're going to use a gold that's a gold vinyl letter that's simulated gold. It's pretty good. I like it. And so I also figured out about what it would be if we didn't get the money that we need. We could still do a one-sided sign, in which case the sign would then be turned 90 degrees and be parallel to the road. So, and there would be nothing on the back. Okay, so so looking at the total of $1,307, I have, for my budget, we're starting with a Cultural Council grant of $300 that we were awarded last fall, and we need to use before the middle of December this year. We have put aside, or we're hoping to put aside, we may need to encumber it, $400 from our town budget. We are asking asking you if you would put in your budget for the town of Gill to contribute $300 to the sign. And then that would leave about $400, $350 or $400 from our donation account, which we can use at any time. There's no time limit on that. So the grant can be used up to December. The donation account can be used any time. Our budget money would probably, I don't know how long exactly you can encumber it, but would have to be used pretty soon. Hale says he can do the sign in 2 weeks after we give him the go-ahead. And then, of course, if Gill, if you agree that we'll ask the town to pay $300, we'd have to wait till after town meeting, I'm assuming.
So basically, if you want to do a one-sided sign, you can afford to do it now between the Cultural Council grant, what you would appropriate from your budget, and what you would take from the donation account. If we or the town were willing to step up and spend an extra $300, we could turn that into a double-sided sign.
Right, and it might not even be a full 300. I don't know what so we're all tax-free. He's got tax over here, but because it's on the town, we're tax-free.
Right.
So I don't, sometimes there's unexpected costs. So, but right now, I think it adds up to, right, it would be actually more like 225 or something like that from the town. Or if you gave us 300, we could take 325 out of the donation account.
What other things do you use your donation account for?
Well, we've been adding money into it ever since we printed the Riverside book. We've been selling the Riverside book, and we make a small profit from that, about $6 or $7 off of each book. And we've been socking it away, and we haven't spent a cent.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I don't have my books.
That's okay.
I'm also the treasurer of the Historical Commission, and I believe it's around $4,400 in there.
Okay.
We have a
Then
lot.
What would be on your wish list from that donation account? or are you not wishing for anything yet?
So we're doing a lot of work in the Riverside building
Mhm.
to upgrade our collection and hoping to reopen. And I expect that this coming year, the only reason we haven't spent more already from the donation account on that project is we just don't have very many people on the commission right now, so it's a little hard to find the hours to actually do the work. But we have a lot of display ideas that we would like to do that are going to cost money. So that's where some of it will go. And other than that, I can't tell you anything specific, but we are spending the rest of our budget money on some UV protection for that room. We're getting sleeves for the fluorescent lights and a film that's going to go on the windows that will cut UV. So we're doing, all kinds of things down there. We'd love to give you a tour. It's still not ready, but, you at least if you came down sometime and we could do that, we could show you what some of our ideas are and where it's going. And Friday morning at 9 o'clock, we're having a meeting there to discuss what we're doing on the south wall. Most of the commission will be there that time if you're interested to stop by.
So one thought that occurred to me now, listening as Lynn went through the budget for the sign, perhaps a more immediate solution for the chunk of town funds is for the Select Board and Finance Committee to consider a year-end transfer into the Historical Commission budget.
So
And
the
that
other
would-
the
that
other
would get
thing
it
to
taken
look
care of right away.
The other thing to look for in the future is the Riverside district is now on the historical district too. And the reason why we're not jumping to put signs down there quite yet is because I'm also on the advisory board for the Battlefield grant. You know what that is? And we're in phase 2B now. We just got some more money from the Park Service. We will be entering into phase 3 at some point, which will be education and interpretation of all that's gone before. And it's wide open right now as to, where the artifacts are going to be stored, what kind of self-guided tour people might be able to take, what kind of educational signs we can do that might possibly be on the Riverside property or in the Riverside area to tell the story of the battlefield and of the Indians' time there and the fishing. And so we're holding off putting any historic district signs there because we might want to combine that with some other ideas. So we don't want to do something that's going to cost money that
Makes
we
sense.
could,
Yeah.
we might even
Yeah.
get another grant for all the education and interpretation. We're going to apply for that, which could spill over into, doing signage in Riverside, in Gill. So, but if we don't do that, or in addition to that, we might want to put at least one sign on the Riverside School land, on the town land there, that would be similar to what we want to do here.
I certainly don't mind doing Gill Center, before we do Riverside. And getting that notification out here, and that is a good idea, holding out to see how the two can be synergistic with the Battlefield grant and
Right.
what's found there and what is done with any kind of displays there. My question for Ray was going to be, if we do a year-end transfer for the Historical Commission, did you have an account in mind to transfer from?
Probably Select Board.
Select Board account?
Just to show you, this is the type of sign that I was thinking of when I call an educational sign. Something along that order, or it could only have one post. There's lots of different things like that.
Right,
So they're out in the open and they're weatherproof and,
yeah,
and you can go from site to site to site.
right.
We might even, I haven't given up the idea of asking First Light if we can even put something on their property so that it's, I don't know, that's opening a big can of worms, but whether they would let
Never
people
hurts to ask.
go on the other side of the fence or not. But that's the ideal
Well,
place to
You never know
put
if
something.
it never hurts to ask.
No, that's true.
That's right.
Sometimes it does hurt to ask.
So the thing that I don't know is, we need to have you approve the location of the sign on the Gill Center Common, the height of it, the placement, whether we can dig down in that particular spot and there's nothing we're gonna hit.
Mickey has looked at where the two markers are now and said it's a great location.
Yeah,
The police
did read.
department has nothing for the height, they're blocking any view, it wouldn't seem like
what was that?
police department.
Oh, yeah.
Just doesn't seem like it would, it's far enough off the road.
And that was part of the test for, that the historical commission did, was pulling out of Center Road onto Main Road for the
Who controls signage and size and quantity in town? Is that,
ZBA.
and have they weighed in at all?
This is within the permitted bylaw, the sign bylaw.
Okay. As long as we've got a read on that.
Yeah, it's not a commercial sign for a commercial business, so it kind of is in a category by itself.
I like the two-sided idea.
I like the two-sided idea much better than I
Much-
do the
yeah.
single-sided
I think a
idea.
single-sided is a waste of money, to be honest with you,
I think it would be overlooked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
because when you're driving by, you're gonna see the 4-inch. And unless you really wanna turn to look, it's,
Right.
Yeah. Hopefully your eyes are on the road.
yeah, pretty much,
Right.
so.
So do we need
So
a
a
motion
motion to
to,
authorize a year-end transfer from the select board account to the cultural commission for the purpose of,
No, the historical.
I mean, yes,
Historic Commission.
historic commission, thank you.
And allowing them to install the sign in the area that you
Have
have
marked out.
already marked,
Okay.
mapped out, so.
And would your transfer be for the amount that I requested, the $300?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And it's my plan to, the next time we have a town newsletter, to write a little note and thank the Cultural Council, thank the town of Gill now, and, so people will have some ownership in it, which will be nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
So it won't be anything that'll come up at town meeting then, right?
Nope.
It'll be,
Ray, is it
Well,
possible for our transfer to fund, like if they were to overspend out of their donations account to get the sign up now, and then our transfer could backfill that, is that a possibility, or
Get reimbursed?
reimburse your donation
so
account?
that they can spend it
So-
now before it becomes available to them as a year-end transfer,
Yeah,
they can
just to
use
get the
their own
sign moving
funds to
faster,
get
yeah.
going.
Yeah, I can certainly do that, and,
Well, I
if-
gotta see if
We-
Ray
we've
says
got-
it's-
There's 2 budget meetings between now and the next select
Alright,
board
yeah,
meeting, so the
webinar,
finance
so-
committee can approve
so we can do that.
the year-end
Yeah,
transfer, and once finance committee has approved it,
Okay,
then
so you should be able to
It's
order the
as good
sign
as
pretty much
good as done.
very soon.
Yeah, Ray has informed me today that we can't put a down payment on it anyway, and I called him this afternoon and told him that, and he said fine. He said fine.
It's not the first time he's dealt with the town.
He's not happy about it, but he's
Yeah.
fine. And so I can order it any time, and then, it would be nice not to have to encumber the budget money. He could presumably, if we get on the stick, he could have it done before the end of June.
Well, maybe when you order, a reminder of the way town finances work.
He's fine.
Yeah.
I'm sure he
He's
likes
done it
getting the
many times,
business.
yeah. Dan's a great guy and he's done it many times, so.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll, when I write that thing in the town newsletter too, I'll thank him as well.
Great.
Okay, thank you
All
so
right,
much.
thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.
What do we wanna do next?
Well, maybe we should do town clerk before we,
That's what I'm thinking. So make sure we're all in agreement.
can we ask, come on up and join us?
Yep.
Hi, I'm Maureen Stevens,
How are ya?
57 North Cross Road. Good. I know we're going to be needing a new town clerk, and I just wanted you to know that I was interested in the position. I have a resume, and I have a letter, and if you want it tonight, I'd be glad to leave it.
Let's hear from Ray for a minute first.
Sure,
until-
absolutely.
So Ray knows can tell us where we are.
Yeah, we don't wanna get ahead of the process.
No.
So with Linda's announced retirement from the town clerk position, the select board, this was after talking to town council, the select board has a couple of options. You can, I guess it's an infinite number of options really. State law doesn't spell out the duration of the term for anyone that you appoint in the interim. You could appoint until the next town election, so it'd be roughly a year from now. You could appoint until, well, the balance of the unexpired term, which would be roughly 2 years from now. Or anything in between or less than that.
That came from this direction, but that wasn't my side.
No, that's fine.
She's a ventriloquist then.
There, yeah, really.
What else?
Wasn't there an option that we do nothing, in which case the assistant town clerk
Oh, right, yep. So
resumes those duties?
Which I am,
So-
Right.
yes.
there is a statute in the Mass General laws that provides for, you may have an assistant town clerk, we do. In the event of essentially they call it the vacancy, not vacancy, the absence of the town clerk, then the assistant town clerk can and shall fulfill all the duties, blah, blah, blah. So conceivably, the select board could take no action, and then by default, the assistant clerk becomes responsible for everything until there is a town clerk again.
Is there any issues with stipend or anything to do with that, or?
Statute doesn't address it, so I think it would really fall to the select board for deciding how it's handled. It gets a,
If we do nothing and the assistant town clerk fulfills that position on an interim basis, where does that leave us for having someone to take over if something happens with the assistant town clerk? Or are we leaving ourselves open in some way there? Or on the flip side of that, if we were to appoint someone to that position, would we then need to find an assistant town clerk so that we're not leaving ourselves open in the same way? Which is the better of the two scenarios in that case?
so the statute on assistant town clerks is pretty clear. It's the town clerk with the approval of the select board who appoints the assistant.
Okay,
The assistant cannot appoint
anyone?
anyone. So having an appointed interim temporary is what the statute calls it. An appointed temporary is better than only having an
And
assistant.
A long-term assistant town clerk, I could see issues with dealing with other state entities and other things, because at some point they're gonna wanna talk to the town clerk and wanna know where the town clerk is or
Just the
where they're
assistant.
weighing in on it.
Yeah, I can think of a couple of state agencies that are prickly than most.
And the second piece of that, following right on with what Randy said, is an assistant town clerk, would that person be compensated for the work that they're doing, or would we be asking someone to do work at a lower or no compensation for work that we should be compensating for?
Presently, the assistant town clerk makes 0.
That's what I thought. And so doing nothing, would we be expecting someone to fill that position for 0?
In essence, yes. Which,
That was one of the reasons why I brought up the stipend, because I wanted to make sure if someone's filling in as an assistant, are they still considered to be an assistant filling in with no stipend? That would not be something that I would be in favor of, since it's such a, crucial and big job, so,
you're asking someone to do a lot of work for,
yes.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Not for little, for nothing.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just wanna make sure that that stipend
Mhm.
is okay for us to give you.
Thank you. Yes.
I also don't want to appear like we're just jumping at the first person that comes along. Is there any type of due diligence that we need to do?
So there has been one other person who expressed interest.
And while I appreciate that that person has stepped forward, I also understand Dorian has been the assistant for 6 years?
Actually, it's been like 12.
12,
Yeah.
okay. Time
It's been
flies,
a
I
long-
think
yeah,
6.
Yeah, it really
Um,
has.
So I think it could, probably seamless isn't the right word, but it could be almost a seamless transition. Which
I
with
do
what-
understand
which,
that,
yeah,
I just don't want to
Mhm.
get,
With what
my
we've gone
wrists
through
slapped.
in the last year in the
Yes.
town hall, that's,
right,
so,
right.
mm.
So I think that's up to us.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if you had any other
Yeah,
words
like I
of
said,
wisdom.
I'm more than
Yeah.
willing to
Yeah.
leave you what I have brought,
Well, I
and,
to be,
and you guys could
To be
discuss.
fair, I think it would be very difficult to beat your qualifications, because we have 12 years of being an assistant clerk here.
Ye-
But I think it, to be fair, I think it would be okay to take both resumes and
Sure.
look them over.
Sure.
The other person send anything, or-
Absolutely, I think you should.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
so maybe you can send them to both of us, send them to us over this, and we'll meet at the next meeting.
Okay. Very good. So
Perfect.
I brought you each a copy, or I can just leave one with Ray, or leave them all with Ray.
Yep, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
If you burnt the paper, let's take them,
Okay, well, yes, but they can be recycled.
or we can use them before we recycle them.
We could, yes.
And make sure Ray gets a copy, cause it's,
Yes. Everyone.
I think it's probably wise too to say that we're not, in a sense, our appointment is different than hiring someone for a job.
very much so.
So
Right.
I think that even though when I say something like that in terms of appointing, and that you have that experience, I don't think I'm getting myself into trouble by saying it, because we're not hiring to do a job. It's an appointment, it's an
Right.
elected position.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And-
it's
And
an
I,
elected
at some point, if I have the position, I will have to run for election,
Right.
and so,
Right.
Yep.
and then it's up to the people, so.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, which I
Yeah,
understand all
That's a very
that.
position.
good point.
I just wanted to be,
Oh,
when
yeah.
saying
Mhm.
something like that, we're not actually hiring you.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a decision to fill an elected
I
position
absolutely
right
agree.
now.
Right.
Yep.
And I like Randy's point, the background and the experience and the,
Yeah, my resume is a little,
Seamlessness.
because it's,
Um,
because
yeah, no,
it's
it's fine.
what I do now
It
for a
also
living
shows that you
is,
stay a long time.
so, pardon me?
It shows that you stay a long time at some
Yeah.
I do.
places.
I
It's
do.
not like you jump, and the second page is kind of an important page,
It is.
so.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time.
your interest, so,
Yes, yes. Thank you.
thanks.
Thanks, Doreen.
Have a good night.
Thanks.
You too.
go back up to reorganize?
Sure.
Did you wanna make a
So-
motion?
Make a
Oh,
motion
to
for,
nominate, oh, to nominate Greg for everything on the, oh,
There you
no,
go.
he's
Yeah.
here, we can't do that anymore, can we?
Yeah,
I've
like
gotta
we
go
should.
back to
that's
mine.
right, that's a good thing I did show
Be,
up.
be there or be chair of everything.
Thanks for calling, Ray, I appreciate that. I'll,
I had
make,
mentioned to
I
Randy
will
that
make a
I may
motion.
nominate Sammy for chair of the select board.
I will make a motion to keep things the way we've been doing them, which is a rotate, which would mean John would be the chair. And Randy would be the clerk. And I get a year off to prepare for my election.
Does that mean you're saying you're running again
I
next
don't
year?
know. I don't know yet.
I just heard you were,
I
so.
mean-
Yeah, that sounded that way to me.
Second, as long as it includes the I'm running again next year.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? I'll say aye.
Aye.
And you might as well say
Sure,
aye.
aye.
For the clerk, yeah.
Yep.
There we go.
So that's chair and clerk,
Yeah.
so, I might consider leading someone into doing a motion to appoint the rest of them blanket as existing.
That's how I was gonna do it unless somebody wanted to change something, rather than try to do them one by one.
It's fine with me.
Okay. So I'd make a appointment a motion that the rest are appointed as written.
I will second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, so
One set
I'll
of minutes.
sign it the last time,
We gotta make a motion.
we gotta make a motion.
I'll make a
So-
motion to approve the minutes of
May
May
13th.
13th.
I just had to remember which ones.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I'll sign it as my last time as clerk.
There you go. We have a lot of minutes.
There
that
will
are
be
coming.
others.
So they're all gonna have my name
Yeah,
on
yeah,
them
these
as
are
clerk?
all while you were clerk,
Oh,
so,
well, I was clerk.
so you've got a few more times.
Oh, boy.
You might feel good about it being your
At
last
least
time.
it's something
but,
you're
you know.
familiar writing.
So, let's see. May 13. All right, Ray, any project updates?
No project updates.
No project updates. So, 2019 Cruiser is delivered in service. Any more to say about that?
Just there were a couple of minor issues with it when it was delivered that the chief is working out with the upfitter to schedule time the next couple of weeks to come back and correct those. Nothing,
Nothing that'll keep it out of service or?
no. So, Chris did mention it was, I think, 75 days from the date of the accident to when the new cruiser was received. So,
Which seems pretty short for
no.
acquiring a vehicle.
I think we were lucky to have one in stock.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Pretty short as municipalities go,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but not the recommended way.
no.
Yeah, right. And so town clerk requirement, next steps we have covered. Looks like the next piece of new business we've got is fire department purchase order for 6 batteries for engine 1. Which maybe I'll show you my tenure on the select board here, but didn't we just do that?
Seemed like it, didn't it?
But it could have been engine 3 also.
And that
Yeah.
could be.
Big trucks that take
Many-
big batteries and
Right.
a fair number of them.
You need a motion for this or just consensus?
Consensus is fine.
Probably don't have much of a choice.
No,
Sign it, pass it down.
I would guess they last about 5 years, like everyone else's battery.
Pretty much. Maybe less because they don't get used that much.
Yeah, could be.
We have a Memorial Day ceremony wrap-up letter from the Memorial Committee.
Unfortunately,
got-
none of us could attend.
That's right, I was out of town, and it was, I guess since I'm now chair, pretty much fell to me.
Well, we both, I know.
But you weren't
Randy and
discussed
I
it,
had,
yeah.
we both had a lot of things going on. So.
Yeah. But it sounds like it went off well, despite that.
There's only one minor in their thank you. They thank the Department of Corrections. The Sheriff's Office is not necessarily part of DOC. DOC is only for the state prison system.
They provided a copy of the program that was used this year, and
Parish
it
Shippey
really
does good
is
work.
an impressive program.
Well, I'm sorry to miss it this year. You kept meeting
When I see
last
Parish
four,
this week, I'll
five.
thank him. That's a nice job.
They always do a good job.
They should be amazing at designing stuff like that and whatnot.
And you do have a public service announcement, right?
Yep, those folks who are signed up for the Code Red alert system will be getting a phone call tomorrow, or a text message, or an email,
Or all.
or all, tomorrow at 5:30 to let everyone know trash and recycling is postponed to Saturday, June 1st, because of Memorial Day holiday.
While we're on that, I'd like to just remind people that June 4th, the Board of Health meeting will be taking up body art regulations, as well as we've asked short-term rental regulations for discussion. Short-term rental would be the Airbnbs, those type of things, and whether the Board of Health in this town just feels like they should be regulated or not.
It's June 4th. That's all I got.
No new business? All right, I guess that ends the fun part of the meeting.
I do have a few questions. I didn't catch the assistant clerk's name.
Doreen